Hello, Vagina. Cheers to being a woman, but womanhood, it's a jungle down there. Get ready to be real, raw, and totally uncensored as we explore the depths of health, sex, motherhood, and relationships. Strap in for those topics that make you cringe, make you blush, and make you want to hide your face. Welcome to the Hello Vagina podcast. Hello and welcome to the Hello Vagina podcast. I'm your host, Tara Thompson, and I'm so excited to have you with us today. This has been a long time coming, and I'm so excited to be able to finally bring this project to all of you out there. I thought I'd start with a little bit of an introduction on who I am. So I'm 33 years old. I'm married with one fur baby and do have a journey of trying to conceive that I will definitely be sharing in this show. I'm also a gym owner, so I own an amazing studio called Fit Mama Co, where we specialize in pre- and postnatal fitness, and that's really where my passion lies, is helping pregnant women and women that have recently had babies to safely exercise and to return to exercise with a real focus on rebuilding the body from the inside out. Pregnancy makes so many changes to the body, and it's so incredible what the female body can do. But there's a lot of stuff that needs to be helped. So that's really where my passion lies, is in education and empowerment of women in health and fitness. So this podcast was born from conversations that me and my amazing mamas have daily in the gym about navigating womanhood. We talk about everything from health, sex, motherhood to relationships. And that was really what sparked this podcast, and wanting to bring those conversations out on a much bigger scale than just the small group conversations that we have. I'm a no filter kind of girl. Some may say that I lack boundaries, I don't know, open to interpretation. But I will talk about anything. I have no shame. I have nothing that holds me back. I will say what I want. I like to talk to men about periods because, come on, girls, why should we be the only one that has to suffer with those? And I kind of like watching them cringe. That's me. But the more women that I talk with over the years, the more it became apparent to me that as women, we really aren't talking enough about some of the things that are really important to us as women. And even in my own journey through life so far as a woman, there's so many experiences that are shocking. I was chatting to my husband the other night about some podcast ideas, and I remembered something that I'd completely forgotten. And it was the story about my first pap test when I was 18 years old. When I went to the gynecologist, knowing that I am now a grown woman, I am 18 years old, and I have to have this thing called a pap test. Now, the internet wasn't what it is now. Like, camera phones had only just come out, so we weren't able to just jump on our phone and Google what is a pap test, like girls, I guess, can actually do nowadays. So I didn't ask anybody what a pap test was. I just knew I had to do it. Nobody told me what a pap test was. And I went in, and the lovely lady, thank God it was a lady, I must say. I've had male gynecologists since then, so I had nothing against having a male gynecologist. But in regards to this story, I'm kind of glad that it was female. And she said to me, okay, take off your pants. And I looked at her like, why? Why would I be taking off my pants? And let me just tell you, it was a rude shock. I know you can all relate to how awkward a pap test is at the best of times. I don't know what that little spready thing is, but it's not pleasurable at all. It's really horrible. So as an 18-year-old, I was just like, oh my God, what the hell? And after that, I did not have another pap test for a really long time, which leads into another story. I do intend to do a whole episode on this because I think it's something that we definitely need to chat more about. But I ended up with an abnormal Pap test result. So it was probably another 7 years before I had a Pap test after being so scarred with the first one. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about those topics that we are too afraid to ask about, that we just don't talk about, and that are sort of taboo, that are embarrassing, that maybe make you anxious or cause you shame, and the things where you just feel like you are alone in this world and that you're the only one. Because I have definitely experienced times where I felt like I was completely alone, and I've heard so many stories from different women about feeling like they were the only one going through this, and you're not. And that's the crazy thing. Like, we don't talk about it enough to know that it is common, and we do then feel alone. We feel embarrassed. We're not sure that we want to ask that question or say that thing because, God forbid, someone might judge us, because we have become super judgy-wudgy about everything now. You know, the age of social media has allowed us to judge people so much more than we were able to 10, 15 years ago. You know, you actually had to go out of your house and physically see people to be able to judge on them. Now people are putting their whole life on social media, and you get to be judgy-pudgy at home with your hair in a bun, no makeup, and the daggiest clothes you own, with no remorse, no actions, no just being judgy-wudgy. And other people get to do that to you. They get to judge you without actually knowing any circumstance, and unfairly, I think we judge a lot of the time. So it's based on that I feel like we are afraid to put ourselves out. We put out the glossy, polished image, and we don't put out when we look like shit. We don't want to sort of put our hand up and be like, hey, do you pee your pants? And if we do, we sort of mask it with humor, and that's something that we definitely want to delve into, is like, what are we masking with humor? What are the things that are embarrassing that we cover up with humor to make ourselves feel more comfortable? So with this podcast, you know, we're going to go deep. We're going to go real deep. We're going to get real. We're going to bust down the facades, and we're going to talk about topics that have been hidden for too long. So what can you expect in the podcast? Well, we're going to break it down into 4 main categories. So we're going to talk about health and everything that is involved in your health. So a lot about your vagina, because your vagina really has a lot to play in all aspects of our life. And I want you to get really comfortable with saying vagina. I'm really comfortable with saying vagina. In a previous life, before I got into fitness, I was a beauty therapist, and I used to do laser hair removal, and I've seen a lot of vaginas, like a lot of vaginas. And, you know, we all got one. They're all different. They're all beautiful. They're all amazing. Like, what this does, I feel like penises are ugly and they really don't do much, but the vagina is so amazing as an organ for what it does and the part that it plays in our lives as women. So we are going to talk a lot about your vagina, everything from contraception, function, pleasure, displeasure, and everything in between. We'll also cover visits to the gyno, checking your breasts, things about our body that we just aren't paying attention enough to, that because they're, you know, our sexual organs, and they've sort of become taboo, and, you know, you don't talk about your vagina, don't say vagina too loud, and give it a different name, and, you know, that's another topic altogether. All of the funny names that we call our vagina. I'm actually going to pop a post up on our Instagram, and I want you to comment the name that you gave your vagina, or that your parents gave your vagina when you're a child. I know some people are really strict on, like, I want to call it a vagina because it's a vagina. And then there's other people that feel funny about their, like, 3-year-old saying vagina, and then they want to give it a different name. Same for penis. If you've got little boys, give me your boy penis names as well. But I want to hear your name for what you called your vagina, or what your parents called your vagina, what you've called your vagina for your kids, whatever. I want to hear your vagina names. So vaginas, and then everything else, women's health, exercise, nutrition. We will cover all of those topics, and then we will move on to sex. So sex is our second category that we will be talking about, and we're going to be talking about all things sex. We're going to be talking about pleasure. We're going to be talking about non-pleasure. We're going to talk about sex after kids. We are going to talk about orgasms. We are going to talk about queefing. We are going to talk about everything sexual to do with your vagina. And then we move on to motherhood. And all things motherhood, I think this category is something so important to talk about. We're going to talk about everything from pregnancy, IVF, trying to conceive, child loss. It's something that is not super common, but it happens, and it's just something that we need to know about, especially when there are conditions out there that I think we just don't know enough about. And then we move on to delivery. We're going to talk about all the things that you wish people had said to you about delivery, and about having a baby, and about all those amazing Instagram mamas that are having pain-free, natural births with oil diffusers and bloody candles. I don't know. The unrealistic expectation, don't get me wrong. Some people have amazing deliveries. Like, you might have had a nice quick one. But I've heard some horror stories, like, 20 internal stitches. I watched my best friend give birth to her second son, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It is just incredible. But the process, wow. Like, my hat off to her. It's something that, as a woman that's trying to conceive and knows that that's coming, it scares the crap out of me. And I'm somebody that I guess knows more than most, because I chat to women on a daily basis about their birth stories, because it has relevance when they're returning back to exercise. So I've heard it all. I've heard the great stories, and I've heard the horror stories, and I'm going to share them with you. Breastfeeding is another one. We've got some amazing guests coming on chatting to you about breastfeeding and the highs and lows. I think we just don't discuss enough about the highs and lows. We'll talk about sleep, food. We will talk about mum guilt. We're going to delve deep and discuss all things motherhood. And our last category that we're going to talk about is relationships. And that's relationships with our partners, with our children, with our family, with our friends, with our work colleague, with the guy at the cafe that makes your coffee. Relationships, communication, saying no, saying yes. For a lot of people, saying yes is just as hard as it is for others to say no. So we're going to chat about all of those. We're going to have some amazing guests in that area as well, talking about communication. I was having a chat with one of the mums the other day about how when we get married, when we date, we're great communicators, and we talk, and we like to talk a lot to our partners, and we like to, we're getting to know you. I want to know how your day is. Then you get married or into a serious relationship, and you just assume that they became a mind reader, and they should know that your day was shit, and they should know to leave you alone, and they should know to help with the kids, and they should know that you wanted them to unpack the dishwasher, and they should know that this is what you're thinking. And all of a sudden, we just really stop communicating. And this is something that my husband and I have actually gone through recently. We've been married a year and hit a bit of a roadblock. Like, when we looked back, I'm first to be completely honest, it was not a honeymoon first year. Like, it has been rough. And we've done a lot, where we are very different in terms of our personalities. We are very different people, and that is part of what I guess our communication issues were. But then starting a business as well, it's hard. It's hard in a relationship. It's hard on yourself. I know I've gone through a huge amount of self-development, and I've so focused that you stop talking to each other. So it's something that we've personally been doing a lot of coaching on, something that I want to talk about, because I think it's definitely something that we're not alone in, and that a lot of couples are actually experiencing as well. So we will talk about it, because here we're going to get deep. I'm going to tell you everything. I'm an open book, and I am ready to start sharing some of the amazing journey and experience that I've had in my life so far. We're also going to have some amazing guests. So it's really important for me, not just for you to listen to me, because although I know I am totally amazing, maybe, self-proclaimed, but I want you to hear the journeys and experiences of other people that have really been there and done that and are inspirational, and I want you to experience their highs and their lows and hopefully take away some lessons. I'm hoping that you're able to find something from every episode, an aha moment, a tool, a lesson, something that you are able to use in your own life or share with somebody close to you. I want to start conversations. Hashtag Mama Let's Talk. That's something that's super important to me. Women, we need to talk. Hashtag let's talk. Let's get that off the ground, people. Hashtag let's talk. Because we need to be doing more talking about so many topics on this journey of womanhood. And I'm so glad that social media has kind of started to create this platform where we're really actually starting to do that. And it is becoming a thing. But I feel like there's still so much to go. There's still such a huge, huge way to go in bringing these issues to the surface, to start talking about some things, to start making a movement in all areas, from health to sex to womanhood and relationships. There's definitely so much under the covers, hidden behind closed doors. You know, it's kind of funny, this journey of womanhood, there's so many parts of it that are just normal female biology, and yet they are hidden and we're made to feel embarrassed or ashamed, or they're just hidden and it's sort of something that we just don't talk about. You know, a classic example of this is our period. Half of the world's population are female. There's probably more than half of the world's population. And at some point, we will all have a period. You know, half of the world's population have a period. And yet it is something that is so hidden. You don't talk about it. It makes people uncomfortable for some reason. It's, you know, it's as natural as going to the toilet and doing poos and wees. Let's be honest, you know, an average woman that starts her period at the age of 15 and goes into menopause at 50 will have 35 years of periods, and take out, you know, 2 children in a year and a half each for a period of time that you don't have your period, and you're left with 32 years of having a period. You know, the average woman goes through 32 years of having a period on average every month. Like, it is so normal, and yet it is so not normal to talk about it. You know, I think back to mine and my first experience. I remember I was a late bloomer, I guess, and I just could not wait to get my period. Little did I know what getting my period actually entailed, and therefore I had no real idea just what was coming to me. And so I couldn't wait to get this period because I didn't know what it was. But my mum never spoke to me about it. I guess we learnt about it a little in school, but I really had no idea. Then when it finally happened, I was away with my dad, so I didn't actually have my mum to be able to turn to, and I had to go to my stepmom and ask for tampons because I thought, you know, how hard can it be? Turns out really hard. So then I had to awkwardly go back again and be like, I don't know how to use these. Can I please have pads instead? And my stepmom didn't have the talk with me. I guess she figured that my mum would have or will do or something. So it just really wasn't spoken about. And I remember having a conversation with my grandmother about her older sister and when she experienced her period for the first time. And this is going back, you know, 70, 75 years. And her sister thought she was dying. So this is how unspoken about it is. You know, women have been having a period for all of time. And yet only 75 years ago, my great aunt thought she was dying because nobody talked about it. And I think that we should. I don't know who decided that it was this awkward topic that nobody should be talking about, but it's normal female biology. Every woman has them. It's how that we repopulate the world. And we really should be able to have an open conversation about it. And I'm telling you, if I'm going through extreme pain where my cervix feels like it's trying to escape from my body, I feel like everybody around me should experience that pain too, especially my husband. Like, why should he get to miss out on the joys of my uterus trying to explode? And yeah, I think it's something that we really need to be having more open conversations with. It's something that we need to be talking to our daughters about, and it's something that shouldn't have this cloud of embarrassment or shame associated with it. This is just one example of the changes that happen to a female body throughout our journey of womanhood that we don't talk about and that we are made to feel embarrassed or ashamed about. And this is what we really want to cover in this podcast. We want to talk about these topics that have made us feel embarrassed, that make us feel ashamed, that are taboo, or we're sort of brought up or somewhere along the line made to think that it's a topic that we shouldn't talk about. But they are actually topics that are really relevant to us as females and to our journey of womanhood. And it can be really scary and daunting and confronting to experience these things for the first time and have no idea that they're coming your way. And to also then feel like you're alone because it's not talked about. So you don't know that it's actually something that's super common. And I think that there are a lot of these conditions and different things that happen to us as women that really are super common. And once you start to talk about it, people are like, oh yeah, like I have that too. And it really changes your self-confidence and your belief system when you start to realize that you're not alone, and you remove that isolation from yourself that you might be experiencing from feeling like you are the only person that's feeling this way. And we all portray, the perfect facade to our lives. Like, most people are not walking around saying, I feel like I'm failing as a mum. I feel like I'm failing as a wife. I feel like I'm just failing as a woman. We don't want to put that out. Society again has told us that, it's not really okay to say you're not okay. Don't want to bring other people down, kind of this mentality. And that's what we really want to change with the Hello Vagina podcast. We want to tell all the women of the world that you are not alone in these situations. We want to talk about situations that typically women probably do feel like they are the only one that these things are happening to. So we have some amazing interviews coming up, and I can't wait to share with you the experiences of other women that have been through things that maybe you've been through as well. And we'd also really love to have your feedback. So the show is about you. It's about the women of the world and the things that they're experiencing. We want to be the place that talks about the things that women really care about and that really matter to us and our overall fulfillment and enjoyment in life. So if there's a topic that you would like for us to cover, we would love to have that feedback. So pop into our Instagram. It's at Hello Vagina Podcast, and comment on one of our photos or send us through a DM, because we would love to have your feedback and to also have any suggestions that you have. If you've got somebody that you think I should interview, I would love to hear from you as well, because we really want to be bringing you the stuff that really matters. And let's start talking, girls. Let's have these conversations. Let's open up. It's time to no longer feel embarrassed, to no longer feel ashamed, to no longer want to hide your face. We're going to get real. We're going to talk about the things that matter to you as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, as a female trying to navigate this journey of womanhood. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. We will be bringing them out once a week, and we would love your feedback as well. So if you'd love to leave a review, I would love to hear what you thought of the podcast, and any future podcasts as well. You can also find us over at the Hello Vagina website. So that is www.hellovaginapodcast.com. There you'll be able to find any of the show notes on our episodes. You'll also be able to find contacts and any information that we've talked about during the podcast. Subscribe to our newsletter on the website so that you do not miss out on anything that is coming up. We will notify you of upcoming episodes. We will also be popping in some surveys and also maybe some gifts. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening, and I cannot wait for you to come on this journey of womanhood with me. Have an amazing day. Bye.